When you log onto Minecraft Online, the longest running Minecraft server of all time, and ask about the early history, you tend to be met with a lot of confusion and speculation. And to be completely honest, that is to be expected. With a timeline spanning over a decade, there are very few players from the early days that still remain, and much of the info that has still been preserved is the very basic history passed down from player to player over the years. But out of that basic history, there's one particular piece of information that seems to have been lost to time, at least in the minds of the general player base. What was the first city ever founded? Simply asking in chat, I had multiple people suggesting it was either CatVille or DrumCity, both of which seem to have popped up near the end of 2010, and through my own research, I've been able to find a third city from this time period as well. The UnderWorld, a now abandoned underground cavern that functioned as the economic and mining hub of Fredonia for about a year of the early history of the server. Clearly, finding an answer wasn't difficult, but finding the correct answer would prove to be quite the challenge. So, in today's lesson of Minecraft Online history, we'll be discussing the genesis of Fredonia's infrastructure and the search for the first city.
Beware, no escape. Oh, there's water, okay. Oh god, this is... Oh, that's not beautiful. Ty, can you grab that? I'm gonna get a screenshot for that.
Oh my god, this was his, Fudgy, I think this was his original underwater base. Oh my god, I just totally cheated the parkour. I just jumped out the window.
The UnderWorld, a domed cavern in the core of Fredonia, founded by the owner of the server, Slow Riot, in April 2011. It was actually December of 2010, but we'll get to that later. Built as a wealthy hub for mining, it soon became the economic capital of the world, with the first shops and oldest marketplace residing inside of this gloomy hollow, as well as a travel hub floating in the sky over it. During the earlier stages of my research, I was under the impression that this was the oldest city on the server, with both the other cities seemingly only dating back to April 2011 based on their wiki entry. A December 2010 screenshot of the construction of the UnderWorld seemed to blow them out of the water. But as I continued to discover more and more, it became much more difficult to pinpoint the earliest history of these settlements. Unfortunately, it's not quite as simple as going to the wiki and checking their creation date. Back then, nobody really documented much. The wiki didn't even exist until April of 2011, after 8 months had come and passed since Fredonia's inception. So to really date the city, I had to turn to some less official sources. I started with an archive of Fredonia's maps from 2010 to present day, provided by Stromhurst, who currently is an admin on the server. But while this is an extremely useful resource in a lot of cases, it didn't help me here. The 2010 archive is far before these cities would have been created, and the 2011 archive far after. Looking at the former map, the land these settlements reside on had yet to even be discovered by players despite their close proximity to spawn, while in the latter, all 3 cities were already built to relative completion. So for this project, the map archives weren't going to be useful. But how about logs? I mean, we might not have had an exact date on the wiki, but surely players would have talked about these cities way back then, right? The main source of Minecraft Online's logs is a collection kept by a moderator and developer of the server known as Trenton, but they unfortunately only run from June 2013 to December 2016. There's also been a recent push by a former moderator, AzeroF, to gain as many logs as possible from outside of this time frame, and she's been somewhat successful. She managed to get logs from 2017 to present day from Froa, logs from January to May of 2011 from Tayrin, and even a few random snippets dating as far back as August 21st of 2010, just 2 weeks after the inception of the server, all of which I'll link in the description for those that are interested. Froa's logs and the snippets aren't going to be very important for this video, but I thought Tayrin's logs could be quite useful, and indeed they were. First off, UnderWorld was most certainly not founded in April 2011 like the wiki claims. There was active discussion about it from the very start of these logs, meaning January of 2011, 3 months before what the wiki said. I was even able to find the launch date of one of the builds inside of it as well, the Stop and Shop, which opened on March 6th of 2011. And as mentioned before, we already knew that construction had been going on since at least December of 2010 based on the screenshot included in the wiki entry. The picture is dated December 28th, but when you brighten it up, you can see that they've completely finished the main hall by this point, leaving just the ores to be mined, which implies that building had likely been going on for at least a few days prior to this point, so we can place UnderWorld's creation sometime during December of 2010. This was just 4 months after the creation of the server, and already we can see one of the earliest examples of massive community projects. Even today, this is the largest mining project in the history of Freedonia. DrumCity, a large burg in the shape of a drum, founded by Tone Dial toward the end of 2010. Starting off as an expansion to the Dial Republic, DrumCity quickly grew larger and more active than its predecessor, eventually earning its own warp. The city is comprised of several rings of buildings, greenery, and defense, with the server's first hotel, a public library, memorials to grieved builds, an ancient Empyrean embassy, and a central viewing tower all housed within the fortified concrete walls of this settlement. DrumCity was the first and most common answer by far that I got when asking about the oldest city. I can't really blame anyone for this. It's been around for over a decade and was founded by one of the first moderators on the server, but finding a proper date for DrumCity's creation was not going to be easy. After searching on the wiki, the only useful date that I can find is November 21st of 2010, which is when the DrumCity Hotel was completed, but we don't know when construction began, and the main structure of the city was most likely already formed well before this date. So we turn once again to our trusty friend Tayron's logs. These aren't quite as helpful in this case, but we do still get some useful information. For example, a former moderator by the name of Razion said he joined the day after DrumCity's walls were completed, and if we check his join date, it comes out to November 21st of 2010. Meaning DrumCity's walls were completed on November 20th. Additionally, there was some talk about signs placed on the 29th under the city. This is all I was able to find, but considering that all of these dates are near the end of November, I think it's safe to say that DrumCity's construction began sometime around then, so November 20th is likely as close to the creation date as we're going to get. Tone Dial, the founder of DrumCity, hasn't been seen in 8 years, so much of the early history of this important settlement has been lost to time. Capville, a small oceanic settlement off the southeastern coast of Spawn Island, constructed by Bastet Furry in the fall of 2010. Originating as a simple underwater bar, the land would soon be covered by floating platforms supporting a variety of new establishments, including homes for the citizens of Freedonia, arenas for Spleef and Pigchinko, skyscraping towers, an embassy to the previously mentioned Dial Republic, and much more. While DrumCity was the most widely thought of as the oldest, CatVille was well up there too. Where this information came from, nobody could tell me. It was sort of just passed around from what I could tell. And who can blame them? It holds some of the earliest history of the server within its borders, and grew out of the home of a player that became staff within just a month of the server's launch. I mean, she's been around so long we don't even know when she joined. I literally had to edit her wiki in the process of creating this video because her join date was set to a random day in October, presumably because no one could find an accurate date for her entry into Minecraft Online. So when players say that Capville is the oldest city on the server, it's for good reason. The city, the owner, and the builds inside are about as OG as it gets. But to truly know if CatVille is the oldest city on the server, we need to look at its history in a bit more detail. For this, we turn once again to Tayron's logs, proving to be the most useful tool in my research by far. Just a very quick search was able to yield a picture of CatVille in the very early days, shared on January 28th of 2011, and the accompanying discussion implies that CatVille had been completed since before the beta 1.2 update on January 20th. According to old logs from Bastet herself, the underground bar that was the base for CatVille was created over the course of a week before she became moderator, which was on September 11th of 2010. So we can confidently say that construction began on or before September 4th of 2010 and ended before January 20th of 2011, though it would of course continue to grow over the years. It took quite a bit of searching, but we finally found it. CatVille, the oldest city in Minecraft Online's history. Hope you all enjoyed the video. I hope that this info is accurate as well. This is just from the resources I was able to find, so it's certainly possible that some part of the other two cities were created before CatVille, but with the latter being made over 2 months before the other two, I think it's mostly safe to assume I got this one right. But of course, if you have any info that would prove me wrong, I would love to see it, always trying to learn more about the server. I think Minecraft Online History is here to stay as a proper series on the channel now as well. I've got like 5, maybe 6 more videos planned for the future, so stay tuned for those. But that's about it, so yeah, see ya.